All right, thank you guys for being here. Obviously, looking back on Saturday's game, found a way to win, and it's always hard to win on the road. It's always hard to win a conference game, so we found a way. Obviously, a lot to learn from, good and bad, and we've watched the film, put it to bed, and understand what we have ahead of us in SMU. The accolades, I don't know how many hours we got because there's a long list of them for what SMU is. They're top 10 in the country in scoring offense. They're top 10 in the country in scoring defense. They're 6th in the country in sacks. They're undefeated in this conference. They are playing at an extremely high level. I believe all their conference win are by averaging of 30-plus points. They've got a very, very, very talented team, but so do we. I'm really excited about the challenge ahead for us. Saturday morning at 11 a.m. in Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium for a blackout. I know our fans are going to show up and be loud and proud and just excited to have the opportunity to play at home in a huge game. We understand that not only its importance, but it's the next one. But look, we know this game means a lot for where we want to try to get to as a program.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask the conference championship implications. How are you guys handling that in the locker room? Are you approaching that, or are you just kind of just staying away from that conversation as a whole?
It's the next game. Our guys know. I mean, they're excited to be at home. You win last Saturday to give yourself a chance for this Saturday's game to be really important. And I don't need to paint the picture. We, like I said, even a month ago, right? Like the goal is the championship game, right? To win a championship. But we've really narrowed our focus on being 1-0 every week, and so our guys, they get it and they understand. Guess what? This game's just as important, and then if we win this one, the next one's as important as any we play, and no different than the previous Saturday. So our guys have had great focus on just, hey, let's improve ourselves and find a way to prepare for SMU.
And how do you evaluate the defense? On one end, they've allowed a lot of points, yards. On the other hand, in the fourth quarter, they've made some key stops that help you guys win the game. And so how do you kind of evaluate both of the sides? Sure.
You look at the plan, you look at the personnel, you look at everything. We got great defensive coaches. We got great defensive players. Is what we've done defensively perfect? No. Are there room for improvement? Absolutely. And our coaching staff starts with me, and then the defense coaches know we've got to be better, and the players know we've got to be better. And so there's certain things you see. Anytime you go into a game, you get 4 takeaways. That's outstanding. Regardless of how many points you give up, you get 4 takeaways, you're going to win most games. Even if you're giving up 1,000 yards, you get 4 takeaways, give yourself a chance. You get those critical 3rd and 4th down stops at key moments. And so they're making the plays and finding a way when it matters most. And ultimately, right, you get a pick 6. No one, when you look at the final score, all you just think of, oh, yeah, that was oh, wait, by the way, the defense got that score. I talked about our kickoff coverage team, how poor it was, and putting our defense in bad situations where, the drive starts for Charlotte were, at the 50-yard line or plus. And look, there's things our defense can clean up for sure, and they are, and they're working hard on it. But at the end of the day, finding ways to get the stops when it matters most will always be as critical. I do study statistics. I do look at what's occurring. But, sometimes when it's all said and done, getting takeaways and being able to get the critical stops are as crucial as anything we do.
Ron, you said those lines, do you go back, 3rd down conversion, you're really good. Turnovers, as you just said, you're really good. But basically yielding so much yardage, is that a mentality thing here or schematic, play calling?
I think a lot of the yielded yardage was missed tackles. We had 17 missed tackles in the Charlotte game. And whether it's a one-on-one tackle or a guy's not flying the ball, the effort's there. I don't think anybody has once watched a Memphis football game, in the last 10 games and said, wow, those guys don't play hard. I think most people, your guys play really hard. And that's one thing that you can, because if you don't have that, man, we've got a long ways to go. So they're playing hard. I think some of the missed tackles is where we're seeing some of that stuff. There's always going to be, right, how can we adjust scheme, right? How can we put this guy in a better position? So like a lot of things, it's a combination. We do preach the takeaways a lot. We do preach 3rd downs and finding different ways. So, but we work on base downs just as much as anything, right? You never want to give up a ton of yards, but if you're keeping them out of the end zone, if you're finding different ways, those are things to hang your hat on. It's over the years, and you and I talk about this on the television show, like the evolution of football, like more and more teams are being more aggressive. So it's even harder to be a defensive coach. everybody, well, let's just shut them all out. Well, that's easy. That sounds nice. Yeah, but I think, a lot of that has to come with just finding different ways and guys stepping up. But when you circle back to what's the main focus for us and where we've been poor lately is the missed tackles.
Ryan, finish was the word of the summer, and obviously it's one thing to say it, but you guys had actually been doing it. It has come to life for you as a coach. How, I guess, gratifying is that to see?
Yeah, I mean, look, as a coach, that's one of those things you sit there and you try to get the message across to your team, your organization. I think, right, you hear whether it's the CEO of FedEx, Amazon, AutoZone, whatever it may be, right? You always want, this is our message, this is our culture, and it's only as good as if everybody's bought into it. And I think, and again, I even mentioned this in the press conference post-game, like I don't like to look at last year's and compare, but like we didn't finish games last year, right? Let's talk about Houston, East Carolina, different opportunities, and then this year finding the ways. And so it's unique how that happens, and I think the guys are bought into it, right? The ebbs and flows of college football games, the ups and downs that occur, you sit there and find a way to finish, no matter what it looks like, whether you're up 18 or down 18, finding ways, and that's gratifying because I think the buy-in is there in any organization, any college football program, no matter where you're at, to get 100% buy-in. It's impossible, but I think we got the majority of our guys, the majority of the people in this program, from the janitor to the grad assistants to the coordinators to the third string long snapper to the starting quarterback. I think they're bought into the way we do things, and that's key. And you got to push it every day. And that's when you talk about all those things, that's when you start talking about culture. And I think right now it's at a really strong point, and the belief is there, and that's why we're able to find ways to finish.
On Saturday, you had Xavier Hill playing another position on the offensive line. Is that a situation with the guy where he can do all those things, or you kind of figured that out as the season?
Yeah, not one of those things. I didn't go in, Jordan's like, okay, let's have him start at right tackle, then move to left guard, and then wake up and move him to left tackle. What gives him that ability is he's smart, and he's has a full understanding of what we're trying to do offensively and as an offensive lineman. It is one of those things we have a little bit of trial by error. I'll be honest, it's not like he got a ton of left tackle reps this offseason or even this season. So credit to him. I didn't give enough credit to a guy like Mitch Gildehouse, who, like I said, had been getting backup center reps and then went and got the nod at left guard. And then moving those guys around. And it's always sounds easy, but like if you go from right side and your body, your muscle memory is used to blocking this side, and then all of a sudden you got to flip everything, your weight balance. And for a guy like Xavier Hill that went from the starting right tackle at the beginning of the season to starting left tackle in a game that was of crucial importance is huge, and credit to him. So a little bit of learning as we go. We try to move those guys around, but you're limited in reps. So really, really proud of his effort.
Is there a last couple of weeks? It seems like there's been kind of random guys pop up for the opponents that have done well against y'all, whether it be 2 to 3 quarterbacks for UAB, whether it be a running back who had 4 yards all year going off with Charlotte. Is there a level of kind of comfort in knowing that SMU is really good at what they do, but you know what they do? Like you have a very clear, like these are their guys, this is what they do, we've seen the tape, we know what to expect.
And the honest answer on that is we felt the same about all the opponents. And then all of a sudden, we talked about it last week, didn't prepare for the 4 quarterbacks at UAB. And so I think that's a credit to the Memphis program, is that teams are trying different things versus us, because you go in, you talk to the Charlotte coach before the game, hey, this is our Super Bowl. We've got to win this one. And so that's refreshing to hear that, hey, we circled this game on the calendar. You hear that from a lot of teams when they play us, which is a great thing. That's what you want. And so, yes, here's the deal. SMU does a lot of things really well. And, I wish you could just be limited and say, okay, hey, here's what we're getting. They do a lot of things really well. And so I assume what we see on tape is what we're going to see, especially later in the year. But, look, they had the extra day to prepare. Scott Simons, their defense coordinator, was actually a linebackers coach on our staff a handful of years ago, so have that relationship with him and just know the different things they can do. So they're going to obviously strategize and put together a game plan themselves. We've got to be prepared for it. But we assume, like a lot of these coaches, that, okay, this is what they've done time and time again, that's the majority of what we'll see. But we'll have some tricks up their sleeves. We will have some tricks up our sleeves, as I'm sure they'll have some changes and challenges as well.
Coach, with this being the final regular season game between y'all and SMU, how much has this rivalry meant to the program for motivation, and what is y'all's strategy to make sure the Tigers get the last laugh of this rivalry?
Yeah, it's been fun. I've enjoyed being part of this. As you guys know, I always appreciate the history of Memphis Tiger football, and now going on my finishing up my 8th season here. It's been fun that game, that back and forth. We recruit the Dallas area, the greater Fort Worth area, heavily, so a lot of battles in recruiting and then on the field. And my memories will always take me back. A lot of people always say, what's one of your favorite memories at Memphis? And obviously the college game day and being able to run out and see that crowd. It's I got a picture at my office. We have it in the facility, and you just think about what that meant to the city, and to the really putting this program, continue to keep them at a high national level on the map. And so that's what I always think about this. A lot of back and forths, and they've always had a good program. And look, wish them well in their next conference. We'd like to send them out with a loss, and that's our job to pair this the right way this week in order to have success on Saturday.
Going back to injury reports, depth charts. Obviously, this has come up a couple times this season. Would you be in favor of the conference instituting injury reports for every team?
Yeah, Jonah, that's a great question, because I've even been, not to get off track, but people even asked, hey, what about the helmet to ear communication piece, which we've talked about, on the TV show, we've talked about different, I think at some point we all got to sit down and say, okay, what's next for college football, right? Whether it's a conference or is it in general, is it injury reports? And who manages it? How are they going to manage it? If they are, that's great. Let's be all across the board, because inevitably, right, we're going to play Florida State next year. Well, if the ACC has different rules than the AAC, and Mike Norvell and I are playing a cat and mouse game, then what are we really doing? No different than the helmet communication with the walkie-talkies for play calling to the safeties or to the quarterbacks. I'm great with that stuff, but how's it going to be uniformed? How's it going to be policed? No different than the tablets. And so we sit back. I would love to have some uniformity in all of it. College football is always chasing the NFL model, right? And then high school is chasing the college, but there's also 32 teams in the NFL, and you're talking about a $16 billion industry, right? And it's easier to kind of enforce all that stuff here. So I'm all for it. How will it get done? I don't know. If the conference has great ideas, great. I believe in my best of my ability, without it being a competitive advantage or disadvantage, to be open with you guys. Like I said to you last week, you guys, that y'all are doing your jobs, and I'm grateful for you guys being out here every week, and you guys making the trip to Charlotte. That's your livelihood. So let me try to be pretty open with you on some stuff. And I wish other coaches were, because I think it's just beneficial not only to their fans, to the media, to the people writing the stories, trying to tell what's going on within the program. So the more transparency, the better. I'm all for it, as long as it doesn't put a player in harm's way or it's not a advantage or disadvantage one way or the other.
I didn't catch your entire postgame press conference, so I'm sorry if you answered this already. There were a lot of fans wondering about the double pass when you guys had the momentum in the fourth quarter, especially with Seth's injured shoulder.
Yeah.
I know you're not the play caller. Is that one you would like to have back?
Well, first off, you need to be watching. I cannot believe you haven't watched the press conference. So
I caught a couple minutes of it.
Yeah, well,
I got a lot going on.
I'm sorry you're busy, but I'll make time. We'll show it after the TV show. But it's a great question, and regardless, I'll never, whether Tim Cramsey, Matt Barnes, Chris White, every decision ultimately falls on me. So if it's a bad play call, if we drop a pass, blame me. Here's the deal. Situational football, we've seen some things on tape where man, this could be a strike up the band for the Memphis Tigers if this works. Reality, we had run it was a very similar type of concept earlier in the season. Had my guy Rock did exactly what he was supposed to. If he caught it and just ran north and south, probably would have gotten 12 yards in the first down. I don't blame him, right? If I'm 20 years old and you tell me I get a double pass in a game, well, yeah. Had we executed the blocking properly, if you pause it and go back, I don't ever watch television copies, obviously. I watch the sideline end zone views. Had we executed it properly, it probably would have been a touchdown. Yes, with Seth's shoulders, but he was comfortable, and catching it wasn't any of that stuff. We'll never want to put him at further harm's way. We also talked about the play and how it probably would have been open. Any plays that don't work, yes, I'd like to have back. So that could have been same for the inside zone call that got tackled for a 2-yard loss, or the an interception thrown on so all those things. But yeah.
You're 0 for 2 with that play, though. Or is it still on the table?
I don't want to give it away to SMU. So no, yeah, we'll probably open the game with that one. So if they could be prepared, we'll. It's like a lot of things, right? You see things throughout the week and you try to take advantage, and then you see it in the game. You say, okay, this has an opportunity to be an explosive play. There's throughout my career for 25 years of coaching, I got a laundry list of plays we'd like to have back, just like anybody else, and just like decisions we've made in our lives. So,
I have a question for you about Seth. You mentioned after the game you didn't really practice till Friday. How dicey was it? Like, how close was it to him not playing? And then what is the process? How did he come out of that game? What's the process like for him this week?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, we know Seth's really tough, and had it been a freshman quarterback that hadn't had the experience, no way you're putting a guy like that in that hadn't practiced, because you can see what happens. And look, here's the deal: I won't use it. He won't use an excuse, nor will we as a program. But similar situation in Tulane. Like, he goes, where he was banged up, and he's like, I'm going to play. Obviously, that was coming off a bye, so there was limited information out there for the media to know that Seth wasn't able to practice much prior to that game, and then same with this one. And I tell him, we're not putting you in the game unless I can see you go full speed on a Friday. Thursdays are a walkthrough day, so, right, Mark, you could be out there throwing, we'd say, you look good, But what he showcased on Friday was one, he's healthy enough, and again, I always refer to our medical specialist to make sure we'll never put a young man in harm's way. But he's obviously has a firm understanding and intelligence of what we're trying to do. He paid attention. I mean, he was, even when he wasn't practicing, he was back there. You could pay attention, even maybe not getting the physical movements, but dialed in mentally. And once he was able to go on Friday, he's like, I'm going. Let's do this.
Did he come out okay? I mean,
yeah. So first off, I did think we did start a little rusty on some of the stuff. I mean, the opening drive, I believe, was a 14-play touchdown drive versus a defense that had done pretty well statistically in Charlotte. And then some missed throws here or there. I mean, if you look, I think we missed 4 deep passes, explosive, that you could say, well, sure, but I mean, arguably, had we had the right touch on it, or one way or the other, they could have been so. But I think as the game went on, in fact, I believe it was Joan, did you ask after the game or somebody, once he got knocked out and then came back, not knocked out, once he came out and then came back in, he seemed to play better. Was that something that's a battle, it's a warrior mentality, which is pretty unique, that a young man at that age, at 20 years old. But all that being said, feel comfortable with, he'll be a full participant in practice this week. Hopefully there's not an or on the depth chart, but maybe we'll just keep it there.
And then just in general, you guys are 8-2. You've won 4 in a row. Do you still feel like you have something to prove to people?
The rest of my life. Yeah, the rest of my life. That's what I appreciate about this group. That's what I appreciate about the staff, and that's who I am. I mean, I got something. I don't care if you're undefeated. You're always something to prove, and I think that's anytime you lose that edge, then shame on us. So our guys they were, people can say all they want. Yeah, we expected a different result in Charlotte. Everybody, right? You always expect to go out there and handle your business, but opening drive, 14-play touchdown, and the ebbs and flows. And I don't want to refer to other programs or anything, but Oklahoma State was the 15th ranked team in the country. They go play on the road to a team that had won 1 conference win and lose by 42 points. 15th team in the country. And Oklahoma State, they've got a head coach that's done it year after year after year. And so you just talk about how hard it is to win. And so I mentioned that post game, it's really difficult. So we've got a lot to prove, right? Regardless of what happens Saturday, regardless of what happens the following Friday after that. I mean, and that edge, as long as I'm the head coach here, this program will have that hunger, that mentality to continue to go out and prove and fight. And however it looks, right? Like I said, there's never going to apologize for wins. And 8-2, look, on paper, reality, people would say, hey, you're doing good, you're doing well. Sure, not really. That's not good enough. Let's find ways. And credit to the teams we played, credit to Tulane, who's a top 25 team, credit to Mizzou, who's a top 25 team. I mean, we see what Mizzou does every single week. and more people are like, man, aren't you excited to see that score? I don't. We beat Charlotte. Cool. Now I've got to focus on SMU. So, are we doing some good things? Sure. And most of the time when we sit here, it's like let's talk about all the. There's so many great things that are occurring in this program, so I'm pleased with that. But there's certainly room for improvement.
Do you mention the championship game kind of implications involved with this one, or is it kind of self-explanatory?
Yeah. So going back to as you were running in, going.
You don't have to answer.
No, you're good. Well, Frank had asked that. Yeah, we're truly just talking. Our players understand the importance, but I'm not. Yeah, we talked about the championship, and I even mentioned I think part of it once. After that Tulane game, like let's just focus on 1 week at a time, and our guys have really bought into doing that, and I think that will help us. I say it all the time to you guys, like about having the blinders on, so they know what the implications are. They haven't. We all do.
Will the lead up to that Tulane game kind of help you in the lead up to this one, and that there was a lot of hype and what happened?
Maybe, and I think. So all week I won't even talk about a championship. All week I won't even talk about. I'll just go do what champions do. Go practice like to be 1-0 today and win the day. It was fun this morning. I woke up. I was a few hours after I woke up, but while they were waking up early this morning, a bunch of the players on a group text with me, and it was like, win the day, attack, be 1-0, and that's just that messaging. That's awesome from them to say it, and I think that focus is going to be huge. And so. Sounds corny. Let's have our best Monday we've ever had. Hey, let's go out there tomorrow. Let's have our best Tuesday, and then these are all dress rehearsals, hopefully, so we can go out and play a really clean Memphis Tiger football game on Saturday morning.
Ryan, these close games, being down against North Texas with less than a minute, being down 10 against Charlotte, how does getting out of those situations prepare you for what may come against SMU or whoever else?
I think that's so. Throughout the season, right, we've seen it a variety of different ways. Up in games, down in games, battling through, having a big lead early in the season and being able to keep it. All those things that occur in a football. You hope you're just kind of building your story and you learn from those, the good and the bad. Like, okay, hey, this is. But it also allows our guys to have not a comfort, but a confidence. And, okay, we get up now, we've learned hopefully how to maintain a lead. We get behind and there's no panic. I don't think you watch in college football, you see teams panicking on the sideline, coaches losing. You guys have asked all the time, like you look over, like how do you and Seth just stay like that? Because regardless, even if you're up 21 or down 21, find a way, play the next play, and so you learn from that. And I think that's part of credit to the young men in that locker room with the maturity and the growth that they've been able to see.
Would you agree it's easier to not panic when you have all those experiences in the background?
Yeah, I can't say that my stomach isn't hurting and that my pulse isn't racing. I don't show that publicly during those games. But yes, for the players, I mean, they've been so great. They're steadfast in their mindset and their approach during those games that, yes, past experiences, good and bad, right? You try to take from them and put them into wherever you are in a current situation. No different than practices, right? Like, hey, we practiced this August 14th. I know you guys don't remember it, but I do. And oh yeah, the old man's right. Let's now go put it into play. And I think that's kind of fun to be able to see those things. I'd rather not have them always be so stressful. The more we can learn from our experiences in the games and in practices, the better off we'll be.
Ryan, what do you see specifically from the SMU offense?
They're the 24th fastest pace offense in college football. And it's like, well, what's the very similar to South Florida in their pace at times, and now South Florida's number 3, but not a whole lot of difference between their quarterback. He makes it go. He is special. I think he was the highest rated quarterback in SMU history. 4 or 5-star. I mean, he can run, he can move, he can throw. He was biding his time in order to now be the starting quarterback there. They've got a lot of weapons and wide receivers. I know they used a lot of NIL money to bring in a bunch of different guys to really go. Their offensive line is much improved from last year. They've got a rotation of 4 or 5 running backs they use, guys that were very talented, and so they find ways to get their tight ends the ball. And so they do a lot of different things, right? They're not just going to throw it up all over you. They're going to try to run it. They're going to try. And the quarterback, he'll beat you. If all of a sudden you go and got a clean shot on him for a sack, he'll make one miss, roll out of the pocket, and then throw a shot down the field. Next thing you know, it's a 60-yard pass. So we've got to play really, really clean on defense. There's a reason they're top 10 in the country in scoring. And they do that, and what they've added this year is now they're top 10 in the country in defense. And it's a recipe. There's a reason why I think someone showed me or sent me yesterday that there's the only other teams that are top 10 in both offense and defense are Georgia, Michigan, and I don't know if Penn State's still there anymore, but now you're talking about Michigan and Georgia and SMU. It's like, and that's a team that's played Oklahoma. That's a team that's played TCU and then is undefeated in conference play. And winning those games by a large margin is what SMU's been able to do in a lot of their conference games.
Ryan, is Demir doing all right, and is there any chance he plays this week?
Yeah, great question. So Demir is doing very well. Thank you for asking. In fact, in the locker room, he was great. Doctors actually cleared him in the locker room. We always go back with a follow-up of anything of that significance. We feel as long as the doctors clear him that he will be safe and no further risk of injury to proceed and hopefully play this weekend.
Looking at the rest of some other injury questions on the offensive line, Patterson, Gamble, is there any update on them?
Not to keep you guys in the dark, truly day to day. And so hopefully we'll have, hopefully it's not one of those Seth yells like, I'll let you know for Saturday morning for Tiger Walk if they're walking with us. We're going to see what they're capable of doing this week, and if they can go, they will. But John, I'm not sure until we get out there because Sunday night's really truly just a modified get out there, and so we'll see. Hopefully we'll see what they're able to do tomorrow. If they can, they will play.
And then just one other one, Brandon Thomas, same question. Obviously, he's been such a big part of the game.
Yeah, it's the exact same situation with Brandon. In fact, we met as a staff this morning. We kind of go through the injury report, and his is a day-to-day. We have got the guy. We have not ruled him out yet, and we have not said he's full go. So it's kind of limited to see where he is.
Ryan, with that being said about the SMU offense, do you feel like your defense has to put up a performance of the season in order to come out of there with a win?
Well, I think we're seeing a lot of explosive offenses. I think our defense has to continue to step up. If they go get 4 takeaways, I think we'll like the result when clock strikes 0. But our defense knows that this is a very potent offense. Our defense knows the challenges that are when they've got talent all over the field. As an offense, not, hey, we just got to hone in on this one guy, or we've got to stop this. When it's multifaceted, multi-talented, they've got to bring their A game. And so certainly it's going to fall on everybody, right? We've got to be better on special teams, got to be better on offense. But our defense understands the test that's ahead. They've got to have a great week of practice. They've got to have a great week of film study to go out there and give ourselves a chance. But I think they'll be ready.
What is SMU's team speed like on both sides of the ball?
We've got a lot of talented teams in this conference. You'd be hard to argue that SMU doesn't already look like they belong in the ACC with some of the speed, with some of those things. I mean, some of their comps, but their skill sets and size, very similar to Missouri with what they're able to do. And they can run, and they've added to their roster significantly, and they make no bones about it. Hey, this is what we've done. They used to be a team from Texas and the Dallas area, right? Never recruiting outside their 2-hour window, and they got more guys from Florida than maybe Central Florida, and so they've done a nice job adding to their roster, and they're playing at a high level.